I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace at age 2 in 1941. I was born in 39. I'm showing you this because this middle finger, I don't know if it's out of whack. I've gotten arthritis now, but this one's totally, I just noticed it. They've gotten this bad the last couple of weeks because what I've had to go through, really. I want to show you, though, there's a black mark right here. And right here is where my finger was chopped off. It grew back later. When I was kidnapped and brought over here, dropped off at the Dempsey's, the two men that dropped me off came back, and I can remember it vividly now, the screaming, and it was the same men, same suits and everything that had brought me there to the Dempsey's. The finger bled. It was horrifying. It bled, and they put dirty cloths on it because they didn't have anything. And then one day it was just back. This was when the twins were born, the Terrys, and you get into the name Terrys in this. The twins were born right after this happened. Not right after the finger was cut, after this mark is in here, and I couldn't get it out. It's soot. I had gotten cut, and it was just prior to there's a thing about the twins in here. I was given the name of the twins when I was brought over, Peggy and Carl, and their mother had killed them. They were born out of wedlock. So it has to do with twins. It's odd because the soot wouldn't come out. And the twins were born to Buin and Irvin Terry, and later you're going to find that the guy that played Irvin Terry, was British. He come over here, they switched identities. He's dead, so I can tell it now. And the Brits went through hell trying to get me back, and this man gave up his life and died here with another name, just like they've given me. So anyway, the twins, he and his wife was Buin. And it was just before the twins, Rudy and Judy Terry, were born, and they are his children. Larry Terry is not. He was born to the real Irvin Terry. Now, I can remember when I was little that they were screaming and yelling one day. They were always screaming and yelling, but they were saying that Irvin Terry's daddy and the double that came back, pretending he's British, sent over here to help me, keep me alive. So they always knew where I was. The man started screaming at him one day and said, "You're not my son." So there was a big to-do over it, and some people thought the old man, Terry, was nuts. But looking back now, I know it was, he's British and was sent over to try to help me, and he was the one good thing, he and Philip, growing up, that was the only thing good in my life. The rest was hell. But the finger was cut off, and it later grew back. And I couldn't really remember any of this until I wrote a book about mind control murders. I'd worked for doctors. Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. When I was writing it, the book, MD Licensed to Kill, and I lived at Moonrake Apartments in Marietta, Delk Road, about a few miles from, well, maybe 40 or something from Gwinnett County where he was shot. He says I was later flown out there in 83 in a campaign to replace a doctor I had, U.S. Congressman Larry McDonald, Lawrence McDonald, I'd written about. And I had antifreeze put in me April Fool's Day of 80. I thought it was because of the book. And part of it was, but it was who I am, I found out later. And had a letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office, national security involved, ongoing investigation into me and my kidnapping and everything. So now and then, mind control murders, I'm going to say this real quick. This was when they brought me over, and this is in about 1943. They brought me over in 41. This is the double one of them that married Wallace Simpson and became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, illegal title. My dad, this is my dad, Edward VIII. He was married to Claudia O'Keeffe, my mom, in 1936, so she was the monarch, Queen of England. He was the king. George O'Keeffe's my aunt. So my dad stayed married to my mom. I found out in all this that the United States and Sir Winston Churchill and some of my own family, well, they helped take down my dad. It was a plot to take him down because, quite frankly, it's totally different. They made up lies, character assassination. He wouldn't go along with the Illuminati and Freemasons against his country. In fact, all this happened to him because he was the good guy. And he abdicated in 36, married to my mom, and Sir Winston Churchill burned the Windsor Files, which was about my dad marrying my mom and my birth. And the day I was born, because of this addendum here that my father was forced to make, I am the monarch, the Queen of England, the day I was born. And thus they had to kidnap me. Then they thought they were rid of my father, but then they kidnapped me. This is my dad, Edward VIII, in Georgia. I don't have a picture of my mom. This is George, who became in 1937, when this double married Wallace Simpson in 1937. By the way, my mom and dad were still married when I came to Roanoke in October the 20th of 86. And they were still alive, and this double, pretending to be the Duke of Windsor, died, well, it's an illegal title, in 72. So this is my uncle in 39 at what they call the Hot Dog Festival with President Roosevelt, who helped in my kidnapping. And by the way, he appointed JFK's father, Joe Kennedy, ambassador to England, 36. Get the timing when my dad became king and all this happened to him. And Joe Kennedy was kicked out in 46, but his son JFK and the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, and by the way, Elizabeth's mother here is a member of the Rothschilds, and she was very active in kidnapping, taking down my father and all of this. So I'm not going to get this up if I don't go here a little further. I showed you one of the doubles that married Wallace, and I showed you that. And this is one of the mind control murders. I'm just showing you that. This is Aurora, Colorado, that I was writing about back then and had the letter from the feds. But now this I wasn't writing about. This happened later. There's another murder that happened here, and I'm not going to get into it. People hate me. It's supposed to be don't kill the messenger. Well, instead of appreciating me trying to tell, and then it's part of it is they don't care because I'm not one of them. I've been told that so many times. I'm an outsider. My mother was born here. Georgia O'Keeffe is an American citizen. I hate to say it, though, now. But I've been treated like a piece of garbage, and I got some better words for it, but I won't put it up here, how I've been treated here. But anyway, I told about my kidnapping. I didn't find out until 83. That's the reason I put my finger up there to show, try to show, because when I came to, well, let me say this, I wouldn't have remembered. I knew something was wrong with the way I grew up in that family. I used to tell them that I didn't belong in that family and that they weren't my mother. They tried to, this is where they chased me down to get me in this picture. And I knew it then. I ran away from them. And they were going to take a family photograph. This was made, set up. They didn't have these clothes. They were gussied up here. This was a pigsty. And they chased me and brought me back. So I know now they went out because they had to go out and get the cameras, these great big cameras, and they didn't have them in Moulton, or they probably had to go to Huntsville to get it. So it was set up and my finger cut off so my family would know. I wanted to get this in before this goes off. When I came here in '86, I'd been out Flint Sea Furnished in that campaign, and the district attorney Darden had run, and he won it, and he's a good guy. He deserved it. But anyway, Larry Flint furnished me a car for a year, but I ended up back really just blocked. I couldn't get a job. I was on the side of the road. And I came here, and about 3 days later, I came in at night, and there was a British lady on the bus with me, and we were the only two on that bus for a long time coming in to Roanoke. And I got here, I had to get off in Abington and walk and see if I could get a ticket to come on in. And when I got here at 3 o'clock in the morning, scary because I had no money. I've been kept penniless. The same British lady was sitting there, and she said, "We'll come back and get you here." I started crying, and I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, she was gone. Now then, on the bus, she had told me, she says, "Your dad," and she said that old man. She didn't mean it disrespectful, but it touched a chord, and I started crying. She said, "He's still alive." So when I got to Roanoke, a few days later, I had to go to the rescue mission and stay. They let you in at night. So I was down at the, well, no, she came in. You had to go to church. I thought it was Georgia O'Keeffe. And I thought, no, it can't be. She was dressed in black and had the stick, walking stick, and actually came in to the services there. Next morning, or 2 days later, I'm walking out, and she's lying there. She had slept out with, I assume, the man that got all the money. I've forgotten his name now, but he got all of O'Keeffe money, which is strange. But anyway, the person had on the same thing, the black like Georgia. She came out and said to me and met me. I don't know if she hugged me. I don't think so. But she said something about, and I don't know what this entails, because she said, I'm going to turn this around. She said to me, and she pointed, she said something about Sears and Roebuck, but the one that's, I think, what is not dead or wasn't dead then. This is in '86. She said, I slept out, I chose to, and he took care of me. And she said something about, and pointed, and I still don't understand it because I've been kept homeless. She said, they can't evict you from there. I own it. Well, my mother was wealthy in her own right. But anyway, it was a day later or a couple of days later, I ran into her again, and I had done a live-in with a Mrs. Kidd and a companion aid for a few nights, and I had $12 on me. And I was at the library to keep warm, downtown library. And she was there. And she was standing in the children's book section in this big book. I guess it's, I don't know, it was laid out before her. And I went over there to her, and I said, I only have $12. Can I help you? I thought she was on the street too. And she said no, and I don't kiss people. And I kissed her on the cheek, and I started crying. And I knew this was my mom. And then they had history books will tell you she died in '84. She didn't. They have so done this at such a high level to take my father out with lies. But anyway, of course, she wouldn't take any of my $12. But anyway, the two, when I came there, the man that was over the library was named Whitlock, or Whitelock, and it's almost spelled like Whitlock. It's a street